Hello and welcome back. In today's lesson, we're going to be taking a look at a brief overview of Premiere, as well as the digital video editing workflow. Premiere is a nonlinear editor, which means that you can place, replace, or move video, audio, and images in any direction until you have your final edited work. You don't need to make adjustments in any particular order. You can change any part of your editing project at any time. You'll combine multiple pieces of media called clips to create your sequence. You can edit any part of your sequence in any order, and then change the contents or move the clips so that they play either earlier or later. Premiere Pro supports both tape and tapeless media formats, including XD-Cam EX, XD-Cam HD 422, DPX, DVC Pro HD, AVC HD, including AVC Cam and NX Cam, AVCH Intra, DSLR video, and Canon XF. It even has native support for the latest RAW video formats, including media from Red, ARRI or ARRI, Canon, and Blackmagic cameras. As you gain editing experience, you'll develop your own preferences for the order in which you'll work on different aspects of your project. Each stage requires a particular kind of attention and different tools. Also, some projects call for more time spent on the stage than another. Whether you skip through some stages with a quick mental check, or spend hours, even days, dedicated to perfecting an aspect of your project, you'll almost certainly go through the following steps. Acquire your media, ingest or capture from tape, or ingest the video to your storage drive. With tapeless media, Premiere Pro can read the media files directly, usually with no need for conversion. If you're working with the tapeless media, be sure to back up your files to a second location because storage drives sometimes fail unexpectedly. With tape-based formats, Premiere Pro, with the appropriate hardware, can convert the video into digital files. You're going to be organizing your clips, creating a sequence, adding transitions, create or import titles and graphics, adjusting the audio mix, and then finally you're going to be outputting or exporting your finished project. Some enhanced workflow in Premiere Pro, which is something that you're going to be doing as you become a more technical editor, is you'll be doing advanced audio editing, color correction and color grading, keyframe controls, and that's more for that of motion or animation or special effects. You'll also be working with broad hardware support. And when I say broad hardware, I mean like 3D stereoscopic, high definition for like 4K or 8K, as well as 360-degree video. There are a few important terms to discuss before getting into the interface. First of which is GPU acceleration. That's when you take your graphics processing unit or your dedicated graphics card and use that to enhance the video editing process. That becomes the primary device in working with video. It allows you to alleviate a lot of the stress that would be otherwise put onto your processor. Mercury Playback Engine operates in two modes: software only mode and graphics processing unit acceleration. The GPU acceleration mode requires a graphics card that meets the minimum specifications for your workstation. You can see the Adobe Premiere Pro system requirements page for more information. Most modern cards with a minimum of 1 gig of dedicated video memory will work. The next important term to talk about is metadata. Premiere Pro supports Adobe XMP, which stores additional information about media as metadata that multiple applications can access. This information can be used to locate clips or communicate important information such as preferred takes or copyright information. The next important term is going to be media encoding. That's when you export your sequence to create a video and audio file that is perfect for your needs. You can use the advanced features in Adobe Media Encoder to create copies of your finished sequence in multiple formats, based on the presets of your own detailed preferences. Media files can be uploaded to social media and other platforms in a single step. Lastly, it's important to note that Premiere is capable of working with 360-degree video as well as VR. You can edit and post-produce stitched 360-degree video footage using a special VR video display mode that lets you see specific regions of the picture, or view both your video and your edited clips via the VR headset, allowing a more natural and intuitive editing experience. Also worth mentioning is that although Premiere is a great standalone application, it's also a great team player capable of working with the rest of the Creative Cloud, like that of Adobe After Effects for special effects and motion graphics, Photoshop, which is the industry standard image editing and graphics creation product. You can also work with photos, video, and 3D objects to prepare them for your project. Audition, which is a powerful tool for audio editing, audio cleanup and sweetening, music creation and adjustment, and multi-track mixdown creation. Illustrator, which is a professional vector graphics creation software for print, web, and video. Dynamic Link, which is a cross-product connection that allows you to work in real time with media, compositions, and sequences shared between After Effects, Audition, and Premiere Pro. And then finally, there's also Adobe Prelude, a tool that allows you to ingest, transcode, and add metadata, markers, and tags for file-based footage. Then create rough cuts that you can share with Premiere Pro directly with the NLEs. Another great tool that Adobe offers is Adobe's Media Encoder, and that's a tool that allows you to process files to produce content for any screen directly from Premiere Pro or Adobe After Effects. So as you can see, I already have a project that's open, but if you were to create a new project, you would have something that looks something more like this. Let me go to Open Project, and that's going to bring up my home screen. From here, I'm going to have my most recent projects that I've been working with. You may not have any, but I also have the ability to go to Sync Settings or New Project, as well as Open Project, but like I said, I have the most recent ones here. Let me go to New Project, and then you're going to come to this screen here, the New Project screen. From here, I can change the name, the location, the general information, which includes my GPU acceleration, my scratch disks, my ingest settings, and then going back to general, I have my video, audio, and capture information as well. So I make my selection, I choose my name, and then choose OK. Now, like I said, I already have a project open, so I'm going to cancel that. And let's go over the interface. After you have your project open, or you've created a new project, the next thing you're going to want to determine is the workspace. Workspaces are preset arrangements of panels organized to make particular tasks easier. Of course, every panel is accessible from the window menu, but workspaces are a quicker way to access several panels and have them laid out exactly the way that you need them in a single step. As you can see at the top of our application, we have learning, assembly, editing, color, effects, audio, graphics, and libraries. These are most of your workspaces, but they're also accessible from the drop-down window menu over here, where you can go to workspaces, and then they're here as well. I'm going to go back to editing. If I change anything, again, this is customizable, so if I change the series of the panels or the location of the panels, let's say I move this down here, and let's say that it's a mess and I'm not happy with this workspace, I have the ability to go back to Window and then Workspaces and then reset my saved layout, which is editing, which is what I'm selected on right now. So if I choose this, it goes back to the way it was before. But let's say that I'm working in a particular way and I happen to find that that way is much more efficient than the default. All I have to do is go back to Window, to Workspaces, and then save. And then I can refer back to that at any time. Again, even though I can go to the Window menu and here in the drop-down menu access every single one of these panels here, and I can make them visible or hide them, to have them accessible in a very particular way that helps me to have a much faster and more optimized workflow. Let's go over the main user interface elements. Here you have your project panel, and this is where you're going to be organizing all of your links to your media files, also referred to as clips. You're also going to be storing your sequences as well as graphics in bins. Bins are similar to folders. You can place one bin inside of another bin for more advanced organization. Here you have your timeline panel, and this is where you're going to be doing most of your editing. You view the work and sequences. That's a term that you use for video segments edited together. One feature of sequences is that you can nest them or place the sequences inside of one another. In this way, you can break up the production into manageable chunks and create unique special effects. In your timeline, you're going to be working with tracks. Tracks are where you can layer or composite video clips, images, graphics, and titles in an unlimited number of tracks. So currently I have 3, but if I wanted to add another, I can just right click and then choose to add a track. Placement's going to be after video 3, audio after audio 3, click OK, and now I have another track. I don't need another track, so I'm going to undo that. Video and graphic clips on upper video tracks cover whatever is directly below them on the timeline. Therefore, you need to give the clips on the higher tracks some form of transparency or reduce their size if you want the clips on the lower tracks to be shown. Next, we have our monitor panels. The monitor panel to the left is going to be that of our source monitor, and that's where you view the selected parts of your clips, the original footage. You can also make adjustments to the original footage before you bring them into your bins, or to add them to the bins to then be added to your timeline. The adjustments you make here will translate directly into how the clip is added into the timeline. Over here, we're going to have that of our program monitor, and this is where you're going to be viewing the current project. So as you add those clips to your timeline, you can view them here in the program monitor. Over here we have our media browser, and this panel allows you to browse the storage and find media. It's especially useful for file-based camera media and raw files. Next we have our libraries. The libraries panel gives you access to files that you've added to your Creative Cloud. I'm not currently connected, so it's not showing anything right now. The info panel is the panel that displays information about any item you've selected in the project panel, or any clip or transition you've selected in the sequence. Next is the effects panel, and this panel contains the effects you will use in your sequences, including video filters, audio effects, and transitions. Effects are grouped by type to make them easier to find, and there's a search box at the top of the panel to quickly locate the effect. Once applied, the controls for these effects are displayed in the Effects Controls panel. Our Markers panel is going to be where you can place markers to refer back to places in time for certain types of edits. Like for example, let's say we have commentary that starts at this 32 mark right here, and you wanted to mark that to be able to refer back to it easily. The History panel is the panel that tracks the steps that you take and lets you back up easily. It's kind of like a visual undo list. Here we have our Tools panel, and the Tools panel is where you have access to all of the separate tools you're going to be using to adjust and make changes in your timeline. Let's jump up here to our Effects Control, and the Effects Control panel is the panel that displays the controls for the effects that are applied to a clip in the sequence. So as I start to add different effects, you're going to be able to see and control those effects here. Over here we have our Audio Clip Mixer, which allows us to control the audio levels for all of the different audio clips in our timeline. And then next we have Metadata, and this is where we're going to be able to view the additional data for all of our clips in our sequences. Let's go back to our source view monitor, and let's take a look at how the interface works. So if I wanted to make my program monitor bigger than my source monitor, all I'd have to do is just drag left or right. And now if I go back to my project panel and bring up a clip into my source monitor, you can see that I have more real estate and a larger screen for my program than my source. If I didn't like that layout, I can go back to my settings over here and then just reset, and that goes back to the original layout. Let's say, for example, I wanted to make other adjustments, like have that of the effects panel elsewhere, or the effects control panel elsewhere, or maybe in its own free-floating window altogether. I can hold down Control, I can drag this off of here, and now I have my own free-floating window. That's always accessible. Now I've closed that, I can access that panel again from going to Window, and then going to my effects control. And there it is once again. Go ahead and reset my layout back to the default. Let's take a look at our preferences. So if I go to Edit and then Preferences, I'm going to start in General. The more you edit video, the more you're going to want to customize Premiere Pro to match your specific needs. Premiere Pro has several types of settings. For example, panel menus, which are accessible by clicking the menu button next to the panel name, have options that relate to each panel, and individual clips in a sequence have settings that you can access by right-clicking them. Here you can adjust all of those settings to find that particular preference. Let's say I wanted a brighter interface. I can adjust that brightness here, or potentially adjust the highlight color. Or the focus. And if you get lost, you can always go back to the default. There are a lot of really advanced settings here as well, which maybe I won't go over at this time. Once we have a better understanding of the interface as a whole, that's when you're going to want to find more particular preferences and settings. But just know that you can make application-wide settings and adjustments here in the Preferences panel. Premiere Pro makes extensive use of keyboard shortcuts. These are usually faster and easier than clicking with a mouse. Many keyboard shortcuts are shared universally by nonlinear editing systems. The spacebar, for example, starts and stops playback. This even works on some websites. Some standard keyboard shortcuts come from the celluloid film editing traditions. The I and O keys, for example, are used to set the in and out marks on footage and sequences. These special marks indicate the start and end of a desired section and were originally drawn on the celluloid directly. Other keyboard shortcuts are available but not configured. This allows for flexibility when setting up your keyboard. Let's go ahead and choose Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and let's take a look. It can be a little daunting seeing the number of keyboard shortcuts available, but after spending a little bit of time, you will be able to recognize most of the options displayed here. It's worth noting that there are specialized keyboards that you can purchase that have the keys and the shortcuts printed on top of them with the specific color coding. That makes it easier for using the commonly used shortcuts. The keyboard shortcut display updates to show the result of combining the modifier key with the shortcuts. Notice there are many more keys without shortcuts assigned when you use the modifier key. Try combinations of the modifier keys, including Shift-Alt on Windows and Shift-Option on Mac OS. You can set keyboard shortcuts with any combination of modifier keys. If you press a shortcut key, or shortcut and modifier key combinations, the shortcut information is displayed. The list at the bottom of this dialog includes every option you can assign to a key. Having found an option you would like to assign to a key, drag it from the list onto the key in the upper part of the dialog. To remove a shortcut, click the key and choose Clear. Some keyboard shortcuts are specific to individual panels. You can view them by clicking on the Commands menu. For now, just click Cancel. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next lesson.